A Bibb County inmate was sentenced to 13 years in prison for killing a deputy in self-defense that went too far. Hey, Middle Georgia, I'm William Bazzone, and welcome to this edition of the Weekly Wrap, where we take you to one of our top stories in the last week. On Monday, we received a press release from the Macon District Attorney's Office. They announced that LEC inmate Albert Booz pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and aggravated battery for the death of 30-year-old Bibb County Deputy Christopher Knight. Now, to understand this case, we have to go back 4 years ago to April 2021. WGXA previously reported Booz was being transported to an observation cell for making suicidal comments when suddenly a fight broke out between Booz and Knight, resulting in the deputy's death. However, the Macon DA says evidence and witness testimony revealed that what led up to Knight's death unraveled some, quote, uncomfortable truths about the Bibb County Jail. Investigators learned on the day of the incident, Booz was displayed in his cell naked for several hours as punishment for splashing toilet water on jail staff. Deputies then took Booz to what they called the, quote, lieutenant's office, which was described as a room officers would take unruly inmates and physically punish them away from security cameras. Deputy Knight then began punching Booz in the face, and he responded, Booz that is, by grabbing the deputy's taser and knife and stabbing him multiple times. Knight later died from his injuries. However, at a press conference on the day of the incident, neither the GBI or Bibb Sheriff David Davis mentioned any instances of deputies harming Booz before the fight. In response to our questions about the lieutenant's office, Davis said, quote, facts surrounding the death of Deputy Christopher Knight were known to DA Howard and me at the conclusion of the investigation into Deputy Knight's death. Because of the pending prosecution of Albert Booz in connection to this incident, it was not prudent to publicly discuss those details previously. Now that Booz has entered a plea and has been sentenced, a clearer picture of the incident can now be seen. Sadly for all concerned, the actions of both individuals ended in a tragic loss of life. We continue to work every day to address the many challenges we face in the jail, end quote. Now, the DA's office says that while Booz had the right to defend himself, using weapons against Knight exceeded what Georgia law permits for self-defense. However, the DA added they could not ignore the poor practices and, quote, institutional failures at the jail that did contribute to the deputy's death. And now, just over 4 years later, Booz's guilty plea means he will spend 13 years in prison, which we previously mentioned, followed by 12 on probation. And Macon DA Anita Howard wrote in a statement, quote, every person, whether employee or inmate, has constitutional rights that must be respected and protected. The justice system works best when it balances accountability with recognition of mitigating circumstances. Our office remains committed to prosecuting crimes objectively and transparently, regardless of where the evidence leads us. You can find more details on this story as well as our previous coverage on our website, WGXA.tv. Thanks for watching this edition of the Weekly Wrap, Middle Georgia, and in the meantime, we're keeping you ready for what's next.